I learned in corporate America a really valuable lesson, and it was take the lessons from everybody, but then make your own recipe with it.
There's nothing better than watching other people win. Like, I mean, it's just great.
Hi, welcome to episode, I forgot, 16?
Already 17.
17?
It's 17. Yep.
Episode 17 of Fuck Your Podcast. I'm Emma Pardo.
I'm Katy Martin, and today we have an awesome guest host, Mr. Mike Claudio with WinRate Consulting. Super excited to talk to him today. So, but yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great chat. We've been excited to have you on. So,
Mike, you want to give a little intro, who you are, why you're relevant?
Yeah, so Mike Claudio, I am CEO of WinRate Consulting. I'm host of the Big Stud podcast, and I'm relevant because I put out an obnoxious amount of content.
Literally, Katy and I were talking for a while since we both follow you on Instagram. I think I follow like all of your accounts plus your wives' accounts, whatever they are.
Yeah.
And
wives, multiple. Yeah, don't forget all of them.
No, your wife's account. You get what I'm saying.
No,
and it's like Katy and I for a while were like, every day I wake up and check my phone and it's fucking Mike Claudio.
No, it's look, it's so I think really why I'm relevant is I made a commitment to a standard and a cadence 4 years ago, and I just haven't missed a beat. Like, I don't miss an episode, I don't miss a post, I don't miss a meeting, I don't miss. And not that I don't make mistakes, not that I don't get things wrong, but when it comes to like things that I can control, things like content, you know, I've released like almost 400 episodes on the Big Stud podcast, and I've probably been on another 200 or 300 episodes, you know, in interviews similar to this one. And so what makes anybody relevant is just consistency of being seen and consistency in what you're saying when you're being seen.
Right.
You know, I think I've had the same message for 5 years. I've had the same approach to life for the past 5 years. My results have adjusted, right? The house, the things, the business, the clients, the employees, even myself has evolved and grown, but all based around a core, like really, I mean, I don't want to say core values because people have such a kind of corny connotation of that, but I have a core essence of who I want to be and what I want to be known for. And I have been consistently reassigning myself and attacking that for years. And so I think why I'm relevant is because I'm not going away. And as many people out there who have questioned it or judged it or been even just like generally, is this dude for real? I think I've proven myself enough because I'm the same person on podcasts that I am in a coaching call, that I am at an event, that I am from stage, that I am one-on-one afterwards, that I am at the bar at night. Like I'm the same everywhere. Yeah. And so I think that's a big part of why people have built such I don't say a following of sorts. Like, I mean, I'm not rich and famous, right? But like, you know, I got a decent following.
Isn't it 11, 12,000 now?
Yeah, I mean, I got 12. I think I have like the same amount of subscribers on YouTube as well. And, you know, I get, 15-ish thousand downloads a month on the podcast. You know, so like it sounds like I only need like 100 clients a year to like really hit my targets, right? Like we're a high ticket environment, and for us to grow, I don't need thousands of customers. So even if I was only getting 500 consistent engagement, I'd be happy with that. But, you know, we've been blessed to be able to consistently put out valuable content, and we've grown, you know, on all platforms. You know, there isn't just one specifically. It's because I post everywhere. I'm omnipresent to the extreme. And I probably spend 150, 200 grand a year on content creation and distribution.
That's awesome.
And like, it's not easy. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It takes a team. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of consistency. But, you know, I think that's the actual answer as to why I'm relevant. I've been the same, and I've put out a lot of content for a long time.
Yeah. I know that Katy and I will admit that we, at our previous place of employment, we sat and dissected your content and how you're posting and the entire strategy. We're like, okay, what can we do to recreate this? Because obviously it's working, and like went down this whole like rabbit hole. I remember sitting in her office on the floor with a whiteboard, like writing everything she's saying and like going through this whole like fast pace, what do we need to do? And I will say props to you because it works.
Yeah, it 100% works. And I think when we were doing that, we were evaluating everything because of the following and whatnot. And what we learned was that you yourself were promoting you were promoting your brand, you were promoting your company. And as long as I've known you, I've never gotten the vibe that you weren't who you portray publicly. Like, you are consistent, you are who you are. And the thing that came through when we were looking at all that stuff is that you do the work. And like you just said, it's not always fun, it's not always enjoyable, but but the consistency is what makes the difference. Because, you know, the content's quality. You have long videos, you have short videos, you have some with great engagement, you have some with no engagement. But the thing is, it's like, it was consistent. So if people follow you, they know what they know what they can expect. So like at the very beginning, when you decided to move more into like coaching and mentoring, did you ever at any time kind of look at someone else, or like, because I've seen this with other coaches where you're trying too hard to like emulate what someone else is doing because they're where you want to be? Like, did you ever struggle with that, or do you always feel like you've always been true to yourself?
I think it's probably a blend. So I learned in corporate America a really valuable lesson, and it was take the lessons from everybody, but then make your own recipe with it. And so what I think I did was, like, I was an Arte, I was an Apex, I came to other events, you know, like everybody had things I liked, things I didn't like, but everything that I took or I absorbed or I replicated or stolen, whatever you want to call it, I feel like I've done a really good job to put my brand or my spin or our culture around it. You know, and so I don't think I ever tried to be exactly like somebody else, but like I learned in corporate America by having a long, like, successful sales and leadership career is like, I would watch that person. Well, how is he prospecting? Well, I like the, well, how's he following up, or what does his meetings look like? And so I would take different pieces that I aspired to be like in that specific skill set or role or whatever. And I'd say, okay, how can I make that my own? And how do I put this recipe together to make it my own? And, you know, I think one thing that I do believe I do a little bit better than a lot of people I've met is like, I'm just really, really not afraid to be wrong. And I've been very good at being very confident in what I believe until I get more information.
Right.
And I think that's been a big part of why I've been able to stay so consistent is I'm going to maintain, but I'm not afraid to say like, hey, what I believe to be true or what I was doing to this point based on this new piece of information. And that could be a podcast I listen to, a video I watch, an event I go to, a feedback from a client, feedback from one of my coaches or mentors, because I've had a coach or mentor pretty much the entire time I've been in business here. I allow myself to pivot when I get new information that matters to me. But I don't think there was ever one person I was trying to like, oh, I want to be just like them. Like, I'll never forget this. And I think I earned a lot of respect with Ryan Stewman at Apex. You know, I was there for almost 4 years. I became an executive coach there. You know, but the first event I ever went to there, and I'll never forget this because it was such a powerful moment for me as a leader and growing what I was trying to grow was, I remember looking at, when we went around the room, it was the first event I ever been to there. It was like late 2019. And he went on like, why are you here? Was the question we got. And I was like, Ryan, like, I just don't think you're better than me. I just think you're 13 years ahead of me. And I want to figure out what you know so I can do it too. And like, I don't know where that confidence came from because I had the imposter syndrome. Like, I didn't belong in that room. I didn't feel like I was supposed to be there. It was at that point, $1,000 a month investment in that program was like the most I'd ever spent on personal development. Which now I'm like, I probably spent $150,000 the last 12 months, but like that at that point, it was like $1,000 a month was a lot of money.
Right.
But I was like one of the last people to go, and everybody was like talking about what they want to do and what they want to grow. And I'm like, honestly, I don't think you're better than me. I just think you're ahead of me, and I want to learn some shit. And that's just been the mantra I've kind of had for a long time of like, no one out there is really better. They might be more experienced. They might be further down the train. They might be further down the track. They might have more information than I have right now. Well, I'm going to go get around those people and try to absorb it and kind of make it my own.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was going to go back to when you first started. So like, let's talk about where you came from, how you got into this, how long ago was it that you started WinRate? Like, let's get into it so we have a little context before we move on.
Yeah. So WinRate LLC was officially created April 2018. Okay. In 2017, I was helping lead a roofing company. I wasn't the owner. I was just one of the leaders on the team. And I was having a lot of success in growing companies from a key employee position. I helped a couple of companies grow pretty substantially. And I started getting a lot of questions from people about like, Mike, what would you do about this? And Mike, how would you handle this? And Mike, how did you overcome that? And I just like helping people. Like operate with a help first mentality is one of my core values and one of our core values. And I truly do just like helping people. Like, even the event that you guys met me at, like I didn't get paid to be there. Like I paid my own way there. I paid like I just
Right.
wanted to be there to help people, right? And that's just how I operate. And so enough people started asking me questions. I started helping some people consistently. In 2017, I helped a couple people grow their businesses for free. I didn't know. I knew what consultants were because of my time in corporate America, but I didn't know what coaching was. So even back to your previous question, I didn't know what coaching was when I started. So I wasn't like trying to be like anybody. I didn't know this industry for what I know it to be now. And so end of 2017, I was like, should I help a bunch of people make a lot of money for free? I should probably try to find a way to monetize this.
Right.
And so kind of just went down the rabbit hole of what that looks like, and then officially formed the LLC in April 2018. And then part of my personal mission statement is to make an impact with every conversation I have. And I have tried to make an impact one conversation at a time and solve problems based on current information that I have. And that's kind of what's led to here we are, 5 years later. I got 17 employees, almost 100 clients. We'll do multiple millions of dollars this year.
That's
I went
awesome.
we basically doubled or tripled revenue every year for the last 5 years.
That's crazy. That's how you know you're doing it right. Just continuous. So I was gonna say, since you didn't really you didn't know necessarily what coaching was, like growing up, what did you want to be growing up, and compared to where you are now? Like, how did we get here?
So I sucked at everything but sports and math. Those are my two things. And so my goal, I went to college to play sports and to become a math teacher to coach sports. That was it. That was as far, because I didn't have any entrepreneurial influences in my life growing up. My dad was corporate America. My mom was in the school district. She was a teacher or vice principal, for my entire childhood. And so I didn't know what entrepreneurial was until I left corporate America in my mid 20s. So growing up, it was like, I want to be I want to coach sports, and I want to be a math teacher because that's all I know. And then one thing led to the next. I actually failed out of college and got a job at Verizon Wireless, and turned that into a successful 10-year career, and then kind of burnt out on that and moved on.
Yeah, I feel that similar in that I can relate, because I graduated high school, I think, with a 2.2 GPA. I played sports. I was a triathlete in high school, and didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just like, I'm here for the sports, right? And then went to college I went to a community college on a softball scholarship, and still had no idea what I wanted to do until I leaned into journalism more. I wanted to be a writer for whatever organization. There was no specific direction. And then after that, it was like, oh, I can make money with social media. And so I started leaning into publishing on social media and doing it for clients and getting into that. And then it was like, oh, I really want to do all this marketing stuff. And I had the, I don't want to say mentor, but mentor. My mom and stepdad own a bowling alley, very small business in St. Louis, Missouri. And I worked there for 8 years. So I saw all the ins and outs of operating a business and what it took to be an entrepreneur, and very different market and industry, bowling to marketing. But that's where I had felt inspiration to go and start my own business. So I can relate somewhat on the sports and not knowing what you're going to do, really.
I would say
it's pretty common.
I would say probably most entrepreneurs, at least most of the ones that I've met, what they went to school for, or if they even went to college, usually doesn't align with the business that they're running right now. I mean, unless it was something very specific. But I mean, I went to school to be a teacher, same thing. And I mean, I essentially that's kind of what we do. You're teaching just in a different capacity. That's one of the parts I enjoy. But yeah, it is funny when you get to know somebody's background, in reality, what 18-year-old kid, you're going to commit for the next 4 years and financially to do this for the rest of your life. I just don't think that's realistic unless they're super, super passionate about it. You end up finding that, your passion might be something else when you get a little older.
My sister's figuring that out. She just changed her major, and she's going into her junior year of college. I'm like, good luck.
Yeah, that's going to turn 3 years into probably 6.
Yeah.
Just in the time that we've met, I know that we meet in 2019 or 2020. It was probably in that ballpark, I think.
I think it was 2020. The first event I think I met John at in person was the event he did in Dallas at the Apex headquarters. It was
Oh,
like a
okay.
contractor event. I think that's when I met. I think that was at the end of 2020 because I was in Apex for a while before that happened. I know I joined Apex at the end of 2019, like fourth quarter 2019. So I think it was the end of 2020.
Was it the one was it the one that we did where I know COVID was part of it, but we live streamed it?
I think so.
Okay. And it was like in that upper, like the top floor of the building that
Yep.
Apex is in.
Yep.
So yeah, Christina and I were there at that event, and then you came to and spoke at like one of the very next Smash events, I believe. And
Yeah, I went to several in a row.
yeah, and I had started following you because I remember you and Kimba Garcia kind of worked together. That's
Yeah,
where
we-
I probably
We,
probably where I
we
noticed,
collaborate on some
yeah,
stuff. Yep.
where I noticed you more in the roofing space, and then from then on it's been totally different. But just the time from that we met, I mean, so you've technically been in business 2 more years prior to where you and I met. But just seeing the exponential growth in the last 3 years has been like, there's nothing better than watching other people win. Like, I mean, it's just great. And if you don't think that's great, you're probably not a super positive person, but like just watching it, it's like you get excited to see that. And especially, we've had some mutual clients or even just friends of mine now that work with you in WinRate in the form that it's in now, because it's evolved, obviously. I've not heard anything but great things from clients, like their experiences, the events, the level of organization. and I mean, I kind of know how that is. If you get somebody who changes something at the last minute, like that's just not something that you guys do. And the standard and the quality of everything and the value that people are getting from your program, I've heard nothing but great things from multiple people. And I think that's where you kind of see, like, that's where you can kind of see some other people who are like, you're now one of those people that other people are like, I want to do what he's doing. Like, I want to do what he's doing. And they're looking at,
we were those people on a marketing standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, we were looking at the content and saying, okay,
it was every channel. It was like Facebook, Instagram. Let's compare the two. Okay, he's on TikTok. Okay, YouTube. What content is he putting on YouTube? And it was just this whole big thing.
And then, taking that and then putting it into a spreadsheet, looking, nerding out as far as what you're doing. But what's funny, like the comment that you made about Ryan Stewman, I've heard people say, well, not that they're better than you, like I didn't say that part of it, but I've had people that we all know say, I don't like, how is he getting there that fast? How is he getting there that fast? Like, how is he doing? How did he get surpass where I am? How does that even happen? And it's like, because he shows up every day and does what he knows he can do. Like, and I think that was always my simple answer. Be consistent, put the content out, do those things. Like, because that's what's made him successful. And it's not easy, but it's one of those things that I look at. It's like, it's not easy. I know that's a lot of work, but it's simple because, like you said, you do what you can control. And that's the biggest thing. And all of those things bring so much value to people. So I just want to say thank you for all of the content that you do put out, because it's been amazing we still watch content. I still listen to your podcasts. And I know plenty of people who do. So it's been an amazing thing to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I think to say that I'm faster or slower, it's just different, because I would say one of the biggest things that I believe that I have been able to do very well, and I'm not the only one who has done this, there's many who have, but like I have done a really good job investing and prioritizing client retention. I think a big part of why we have grown is we don't lose clients. Like, we have clients going into their 3rd and 4th year in the program. And like, I think that's the uncommon element that I think makes what we've done a little bit different. Because if it was every 6, 8, 12 months, I had to completely refill my pipeline and completely refill my client base, that's hard to do. Like, and that's frustrating and it's difficult. And, and I don't know if that'll last forever. Honestly, it's one of those things that we talk about a lot as part of it's typically part of our quarterly SWOT analysis. It's part of our quarterly initiative, creation is, I've probably spent 10 times more money on retention than I have on acquisition. And I think a lot of people have it the other way, and I get it. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I grew slow initially. Like you said, I was almost 2 years in business the first time you met me. And so like it was slow. I wasn't as relevant. I wasn't as known. I wasn't as readily available to people. And but I think what's made the biggest difference, and I think most people's businesses is I think they undervalue retention. And specifically when you're in a reoccurring, multiple purchase type environment. And I think I've done a really good job at, giving the client something that's worth coming back for. And I hope that can continue. And I pray that that can continue. And it becomes more difficult when you get more separated. Like out of, I think we have 90 plus clients. I don't know the exact number, somewhere in there, but I only have like 20 of them.
Yeah.
So now I have to like rely on other coaches to do their job to keep retention where we want it to be. And it's definitely proven to be difficult, and that's some of the growing pains we have right now where, developing a client experience that can be uniform across, I have 8 coaches that have clients inside of the organization right now. That's difficult. It's hard to do. And each one of those 8 people are freaking CEOs. Like half my team are CEOs. You know how hard it is to fucking lead CEOs? It sucks. It fucking sucks. Like it's equally as great, right? Because they bring a lot of value, but like it's also like, CEOs are needy. They want to be involved in everything. They want to have their opinion heard in everything. Like it's hard. I have 8 people on my team that are currently CEOs of multi-million-dollar companies. Like that's probably the most, like, you can talk about the growth all you want. I built a mission that people who said they would never work for somebody else want to work for me. That's one of the things I'm probably most proud of.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to bring in clients. It's easy to bring in employees. I have CEOs of multi-million-dollar companies that want to participate in this mission. And they're on my team call every Friday and they get on their one-on-ones every other week. These are CEOs. And I think that's probably the part that no one really sees that I'm probably most proud of right now. Is it harder? Yeah, of course it is. Like hiring employees is always harder than doing it yourself. And especially in a world like you guys said, I built the Mike Claudio brand first. And if you've seen over the last year or, year to year and a half, I've really started bringing in the other coaches as part of the content strategy. That was intentional to show the audience it's not just Mike anymore.
Right.
But I will say, like, of all the things that I've accomplished in the last 5 years, I think building a mission that is trustworthy enough for CEOs to want to play a role as an employee on that's probably the most impressive thing I believe I've done in the grand scheme of all of it. And it's hard as shit, and I fail at it every day, and it's getting harder as the team grows. But I believe it's still one of the more impressive things I've been able to do.
Yeah, it's good growing pains. There's always gonna be pains,
sure.
no matter if it's good or bad. It's always gonna happen. I was gonna ask, so with all of this evolution that we've been talking about, entrepreneurs make big mistakes in the very beginning of starting their baby, right? So what, if you can disclose, what was a mistake that you made or mistakes you made in the beginning that you wish you could go back and change?
It's an interesting question to answer because I wouldn't change anything about where I am right now. Right. So that's the hard part. I don't look at something as like, oh, that's where it all went wrong, and that's why I lost everything, right? Like,
well, then let me read.
I get your question. I'm going to answer it. I'm just saying it's hard because, like, because I think every person's journey, like, there's things in my life that I wish I'd go back and change, but that might have changed where I am right now, and I wouldn't change where I am right now for anything. Right. I think that's a rare. People say that, but like, I truly am living in like blissful dissatisfaction right now for the first time in my life, where I'm not like anxiously waiting for the next thing. I'm just excited about winning the day. But there are 2 things I did early on that I don't think really made as big of an impact as I hoped it was. First was over investing in a website. Like, I still to this day, I don't think I've closed 2 clients through the website. Everything's been word of mouth or social media. And I think I spent like 10 grand on my first website before I made a single $1 in revenue. And so,
10 grand?
Oh yeah, no, I was the noob. I got got for sure. I 100% got. But I didn't know. Like, I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. And like, I trusted the guy, and I'm like, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Here you go. And we still use the basic structure. It's changed a lot, but like, I mean, it helped, but it did not do as much as I thought it was going to. And then the second thing is, I felt like to be this business coach, I needed an office. So I went and got an office, and I paid a lease for a year, and like, it worked, but I don't think it exponentially increased results.
Right.
And so those are 2 things early on that if I would have had that capital to put into some other things, like maybe traveling a little bit sooner or getting into some events sooner, or maybe hiring a better coach sooner, those could have increased or sped up results. But those are 2 things. Like, I mean, that combined, that was probably 20 or 25 grand in the first year I spent that I don't believe I got a return on investment on.
Right.
If I would have put that towards something else, maybe it would have created a different outcome. But I'd say if I look at like things I wish that I would have known, like if I knew then what I knew now, I would not have done either of those things. So I think that's what you're talking about. Like, what would I have done differently? Maybe not so much mistakes that I wish didn't happen. Those are two things that I probably, knowing if I knew then what I knew now, I would not have done either of those.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, 10 grand on a website is I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Oh no, I got God for sure, and it's fine. I've accepted it. I mean, it just is what it is.
Right. Are there any mistakes recently that you've made that you felt like probably could have thought that through a little better?
No, I mean, I think.
You've been in the swing of it for a while. After time, it becomes routine. But
and part of it is, I think there's something I've done right that has alleviated some of this. I built my company my way, and so what that means is maybe I've done some things other people think was a mistake, but I don't fucking care because I did it my way. Like there's certain things with trips or we'll say this year, I originally had planned on one of our programs doing 2 destination events. One was going to be in Vegas and one was going to be in Pittsburgh. And we went to plan the events. I realized that I just wildly underestimated the cost of those types of destinations. And what I missed was not so much the destination. It was expensive, but also I have a much larger team that I have to travel with now. And so the expenses grew to the point where we had to back out of Vegas in Q2 and I lost 30 grand in non-refundable deposit. Oof. And we had to pivot that event to Greenville where I live now. And so you might say that was a mistake. I say it was a growing pain of something I aspired to do and wanted to do. And just missed something. But I say that was, that's probably a mistake that I said, hey, let's do 2 destination events for this program this year, 2 locally, 2 destination. And I realized just the cost between the larger group of clients in that program, the larger team, and then just increase in cost of everything everywhere. We were going to lose a massive amount of money on that trip in Vegas, and I just misjudged it. And so, but what I didn't do, and I say this all the time, and this is something I wish more entrepreneurs could get, is you do not have to finish a bad decision. You are allowed to pivot because it's your job to protect the ship. And so I could have said, hey, I said we were doing this, let's do it no matter what. No, I'm like, that's not going to work. Cancel. We move the event date, which we do not do. I mean, Katy, you said it. We do not move shit. Right. But I did basically a town hall meeting with all of our clients. I was like, guys, this is what happened. Here's what led into it. Here's what we realized. Here's the decision that's made. Here's why we're making the decision. Here's what we're going to do to why we believe this is best for everybody. And we got a lot of thank yous because
the transparency is huge.
No, I had one of your clients specifically tell me that story.
Yeah.
They specifically told me that story, and what he said was he's like, and nobody was mad, because you tackled it head on, you were upfront about it, and you were transparent about what happened. And I think, and that's something too, that as a business owner, there's going to be certain things, even with your team, that there's some business owners that are like, oh no, I can't tell them that I messed up. The more transparent you are with stuff like that. And again, that's not like it was I don't see that as a mess up. Like you said, it's a pivot, and it's not like you're not going to do a destination event. It's like, okay, now we know we need a better, we need to plan for a higher budget and a little bit more preparation or something. It's something to learn from. Yeah. So, the difference would be is if you try to do it again and it ends up getting canceled, it's like, okay, well, we repeated the same mistake. Yeah. So, and that's where people show a ton of grace when you're transparent and you learn from the mistake or the miscalculation or whatever and move on.
Well, that helps with retention too. Tying that back to retention is going, these people know that they're trusting their investment with you.
Well, and I think as a leader, whether you're a person in a mentor position like I am, or just a leader of the company, when you're willing to tell people you did something wrong, they'll believe you when you say you're doing something right. Mm-hmm. It's when you can't be truthful about the mistake, they start to question whether it's right or not. Mm-hmm. And so when someone's always preaching that everything's great, and everything's going awesome, and everything's perfect, they start to question everything. But when you're willing to tell somebody where you messed up or where things are wrong, they tend to trust when you say things are right.
Yep.
I would agree with that. So to kind of tie up the business conversation of this, because we'll move into more fun personal conversation, right? What advice would you give to entrepreneurs that are growing or are looking to grow on the best strategies you have used or the best strategies that you rely on?
I mean, I'd say the best thing from an evolution perspective would be like we do a quarterly SWOT analysis that leads into a quarterly initiative creation that we've utilized for probably 10 or 11 quarters in a row. And it's a big part of why we are what we are, because every quarter we analyze our strengths, our weaknesses, opportunities, and our threats, and we create intentional initiatives around each of those things every single quarter. Like we just did it this week was our, Q2 SWOT analysis, creating our Q3 initiatives. The team plays a role in that. We get feedback from different perspectives amongst the team, and then we take action on that on the upcoming quarter. And we create, typically somewhere around 25 or 30 initiatives every single quarter that we are able to take aggressive action on to solve problems and really move things in the right direction.
That's awesome. Yeah. Definitely helps dissect everything. I think that's what some entrepreneurs are kind of afraid to do, is dissect where, you actually are improving, or those are your strengths, and that's what gets whatever result. And they're also afraid to see the weak points, like what happened that we could have improved on or done differently.
Well, and also I would say buy back your time. Like that guy that just walked in is my chiropractor. I don't think enough entrepreneurs buy back their time. It would take me an hour and a half to go visit him for a 5-minute adjustment. I pay him extra to come here because it as an entrepreneur, like my time is my biggest value.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe this is a piece of advice people didn't. It's a lot easier to make money than anybody gave you credit for before becoming an entrepreneur. It's actually pretty easy. So you want to buy back your time with my barber comes to the house, my chiropractor comes to the house, we get the house cleaned, we get the laundry done, we use Instacart to deliver groceries. I protect my time with everything I can because I can make more money. And it's so corny. You can't make
money
more
comes
time.
back. Money comes back.
I can do this podcast because he came to me. If I had to go to him, I wouldn't have been able to do this podcast. What's that worth? I don't know. Evergreen content forever and ever on the internet. Right. It's kind of valuable.
Right. That's and Cole and I were just talking. My boyfriend and I, we both work from home, and we laughed because this time last year, he didn't have a job and we were relying on my income only to support a long distance relationship because he's from Texas. I was in Missouri. This year, it's completely changed. We were talking today about how much time we've spent cleaning the house with a Great Dane and a long-haired German Shepherd, and the amount of mess that they create. We love them dearly, but they're a lot. And we were just talking about that today. We need to get somebody to come take care of that for us, so we're not taking time away from our work and what we could be producing, spending time cleaning the house. So
yeah, and it's easier to pay somebody to do the stuff that you need done at home than it is to maybe hire that person to then can keep contributing to the revenue if you know that you have that kind of control over it. I mean, I look at it as the same thing. We pay somebody to maintain our yard. We pay somebody to clean the house. I'm almost to the point of having somebody pay to do our laundry, but that's because the time that we have where we're physically not working is meant to do very specific things to invest in our family. So it's time with one another. It's time with our kids. It's trips. And you have 2 small kids. So having that time, you don't get that time back. You don't get that time back. And from somebody who invested several years of their life when their kids were little to build someone else's business, I will tell you that's the one thing I would have done differently when I was younger, is that I would have not done that for someone else. I would have done that for myself sooner, because you can't buy back the time with your kids when they're growing up. So being able to be, to work from home and have that freedom where you can, that you can put your head down and do the work that needs to be done for the day. And if you can shut it off where you can spend the time with your family is hugely important. So when you can buy your time back, it's so worth it.
I will say that's been definitely something that I've taken away from you, Katy, kind of to sidetrack, because my boyfriend has a 5-year-old son, and we're finding ourselves in this position where we're like, I don't think we're spending enough time with him when he's here with us for the week. He's on summer break. He's here with us all week. And it's like, okay, what can we do in our schedule to be able to make that happen without losing the time away from, or the time from work? And we've just overall decided to start scheduling the specific times for ourselves, whether that's us working together, spending time together, working on business, or that's going on a date night. And then same thing with crew. It's Are we spending the time with him, and are we spending quality time? And is it something that's not just us sitting in front of the TV? So that's something I could take away from you, Katy, is going, yeah, we need to make sure that we're not, while he's 5 years old, we're not missing out on this time because it is crucial, especially since his mom had her baby. So he's kind of in this weird stage of adjusting, and it's trying to keep the peace because he does act out sometimes as a result of it. So
yeah, anyway, if you can take any wisdom from me, both of you having younger children, that's one thing, because they, it's not sad that they grow up, because you gain so much, like you just gain something new every time that they move on to this new stage, but you just don't want to miss it. Like you can't be there 100% of the time. I get that. But there's a certain, like when you own your own business, you can control the sacrifice, like you can control that. So kind of on the personal note, I know that when you and I met, how involved was Tiffany in the business? Like from the beginning, obviously now she's really involved and is part of the, one of the,
I was about to say, I've seen her face a lot more.
Was she always involved, or did it become more just recently or within the last couple of years?
So she kind of came in and then kind of went back out. So she worked in corporate America for Bank of America. And then when I started the company, I took a pay cut to leave and kind of start, and she kind of supported the financial side. And then in 2021, she left and started working full time. And then when we moved to Greenville, we started homeschooling and doing more here. So she's actually more out of the business now, as we've hired support staff around her. So she kind of came in for a season. She's always going to play a role. I mean, she's kind of that team mom that everybody looks up to.
Right. Is that her behind you right now?
Yeah, she's sitting right there.
Hi.
But yeah, so I mean, she was out because she worked in corporate America. She kind of helped pay the bills, as in she paid all the bills. And then, as I was building the business from the beginning, and then, when the business got to the point where we were able to offset her income, she made the jump. And then, when we decided the lifestyle, to your point, was more important, we homeschool the kids now. And so, spending as much time with them as possible, and her playing that role as, team mom, but also homeschool mom and wife to Mike Claudio, all the things, it's a full-time job. I can only imagine what it's like to be on that side of it. So
I think it was one of your podcasts recently where you guys talked about running, like you run your marriage, you run your household similar to a business, and making, getting on the same page. And I'm sure you've had plenty of husband and wife like clients. And I know that husband and wife clients that I've had in the past have struggled with, I guess, shutting it off. They always say it's shutting it off, but it's typically, what I've typically seen, it's that it's hard to communicate about business decisions without emotion, because it's the most emotional relationship that you have with another person. And so like getting to that place of being able to talk about the business with very little emotion, and then also talking about how that integrates, because like you said, you run your business out of your home, you homeschool your kids, so it's just life. So did you have like a rough transition period, or where there were some times where you guys had to really work to get on the same page?
And then that's just marriage in general is a constant battle towards center ground, right? But I think overall what we've done well at is like really created boundaries around our time. Like there is time for business talk and there is time for not business talk. And I think where a lot of people struggle in general with communicating with their spouses, like what are we supposed to be doing in this time block? Yeah. Like is this family time? Is this work time? Is this us time? Is it sex time? Is it date night? Like what is it? And so like, not that we like schedule every single minute of every single day, but we're like, hey, that's not hey, can we wait till our meeting tomorrow to talk about that? Yeah, cool. All right. And then we can shelf it. I think where people struggle separating or turning off is there's nowhere to shelf the topic. There's no like next step. There's no planned accountability or planned conversation around solving that problem. So like when you don't know when it's going to get solved, you get anxious that it will ever get solved and you have to talk about it now. And so I think what we've done a good job at is really putting boundaries around our time on like sometimes like I come down for my meetings and she wants to share something, I'm like, babe, I can't do that right now. And she's like, oh, okay. And then like being willing, it's not like I'm not hurting her feelings. It's just like, I can't be receptive of what you're trying to deliver right now. So I'd rather just wait till another time to have that conversation.
Yep. Right. So what do you do?
Understand. Sorry, Katy. I was gonna say, I think that's the hard part is like at some point you guys had to have that conversation of, if I say this thing, this is what what I need from you. Like this is, and you know, to where she can say things to you and you can say things to her. And there are some people that they're probably just not as good at, they're not as good at marriage as what they really think they are. And, you know, and a lot of it has to do with communication. So if you don't work really, really, really hard at your marriage, having that person involved in your business is not going to be easy.
No, it doesn't. I was going to say, in times of like, you know, like in the times of crisis, like when things have to be discussed right now, not in that scheduled period of time, what are you doing?
Honestly, it very rarely happens. We're not fucking heart surgeons. Very rarely,
Right.
very rarely is there a crisis that needs our attention immediately.
But when it does happen, though, I get that it's rare. But
I mean, give me an example. Give me an example
Mm-hmm.
of something you're talking about, so I might be able to like put some more context to it.
Something happens within the business that needs to be addressed right then and there.
It doesn't happen.
And how do you avoid that then?
Proper communication, planning, meeting schedules, cadences, boundaries, pushing back, telling the client, hey man, I'll get to that tomorrow, and being okay getting to that tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't have those types of, there's not been a single time in my business where there was a problem right now that needed to be solved right now. Not once.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go, entrepreneurs.
Yeah. You don't
from Mike Claudio himself.
I mean, that's just one thing. Like you don't live in a place where you tolerate hyper reactivity. Like it's just not necessary.
Because once you give a little bit, you can't turn it off, because then people expect it out of you. Your team expects it. Your customers expect it. Like, no, I create boundaries around my availability and my time. And if you don't appreciate that, then you're just not a good person to be inside of my ecosystem. And if you do appreciate that, I'll give you everything I can. But we don't have it. We don't have emergencies like that inside of our company.
Well, we really appreciate you spending the time with us today, and it was a great episode.
That's pretty good.
It was a great episode. It was good to catch up.
I took some advice. I hope our listeners take some advice.
I love Greenville. I'd love to come visit. That's like one of my favorite cities.
Yeah, we love it for sure.
Yeah, it's an awesome area. So, Mike, share with our listeners and whoever else might see this where they can find you.
If you just go to MikeClaudio.com, it has access to the nonprofit, it has access to the content, access to the business page. So it's a really, you want to learn more about everything I'm involved in, go to MikeClaudio.com.
Boom.
Awesome.
He has his own domain. Well, if you would like any advice, if you have a topic you want to listen to, if you just want to message us just to chat, which never happens, but if you want to, it's there. You can reach us on Instagram at F__K your pod, or you can email me at Emma@99creatives or Katy at
99 creatives.
Moral of the story today: be consistent and be genuine. Right?
Yep, that's a good message.
Anything different? I don't think so. And don't forget. Don't forget. I don't know what's going on with me today. I have vertigo from vacation. I don't know. Don't forget to do the damn thing. Okay, bye.
Adios.